So now we're going to move on to the big topic of the night, Watch Dogs 2, our replay of Watch Dogs 2. When it originally came out, we all got distracted by other things, and we didn't really give this game its due diligence. And we've all spent a couple weeks diving back in, checking it out, and we've come away with a fresh perspective on this, at least in our case, overlooked gem, I think I would call it, because I think it's pretty good. I think that is at what the general feeling is, that this game is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's a very solid game. Very solid game. It's kind of a far more solid than you would expect if you played and, like most people, was a little underwhelmed by the original. It's quite a nice surprise, I think. It's a nice surprise to dip into. It's like, oh, this is actually kind of quite light, and it's quite a light game in a weird way. Quite a light fun game. It's not like kind of a grim GTA style game, I don't think.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us into our setting, which is kind of like, I guess I would say, modern day San Francisco and Silicon Valley area. And that's what the story and the characters and their motivations revolves around. A lot of like technology and the way that it intertwines with people's everyday lives and stuff like that. There was a little bit, there was definitely that in the first one from what little I remember about it, but it really wasn't about, let's say, the culture around technology. Is that a pretty accurate assessment?
That'd be a good way to put it, because the first one was more like a solo perspective story. You were this one person, and you were trying to figure out your problems, but everything was revolved around you. To where in Watch Dogs 2, we're the group, where everything is each of these different members, and you're still playing as one solo guy, but you're interacting as a group of a whole, not just his story.
Yeah, the first one was very much a surface of that sort of counterculture, whereas this dips right into it, and you see lots of kind of the hacker counterculture sort of thing. You see a lot more than you did in the first one, like I say, where you're kind of a rogue on your own. You don't really dip into that,
right?
That world, I don't think. You're inflicting that world on others.
Yeah, the first one took place in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. But not exactly the hotbed of technological advancement.
No.
A lot more going on. A lot more going on out in Silicon Valley in terms of that. And, that's represented in just pretty much every facet of this game, from not just the main characters, but the villains and the secondary characters, as well as like all the organizations in and around the city, and the citizens too, the random people that you're just walking around, bumping into and stuff like that. It feels there's a lot of character in just the setting in this game that I think is really well done. I've never been to San Francisco, but I've seen and I've heard about like what the overall vibe is there, and Ubisoft tends to do their homework pretty well when they set it in an actual specific location. In it, I feel like that they did a pretty good job here.
Don't you actually get to go to the Ubisoft offices in the Valley?
No, I heard about that. I heard about that when the game originally came out, but I have not checked that out.
Oh, it's an incredibly obnoxious level. You'll love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're talking about their new blockbuster game that they're going to be bringing out, and how he's going to change everything at the it's a little bit on the nose.
Oh, okay.
But you get to leak it though, and it like breaks the internet when you leak the trailer. And it's like, oh, does it? Does it really?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
You carry on, newbie.
Yeah. Just like every time Ubisoft announces something, the whole internet breaks down. Although maybe it would if they were able to announce something without it leaking first.
Oh my god, it's so meta.
Yeah. Yeah, so the setting feels a lot more live, and of course you have, just like in the first game, you have the ability to manipulate a whole bunch of stuff within it, so even that adds even another layer of character onto that. But before we move on to the actual gameplay and the way you're interacting, I want to talk a little bit about the characters, because I think that's another area where this game not only improves certainly upon its predecessor, but also kind of stands out in its own way in the like Grand Theft Auto modern open world kind of setting, where the characters, so you play as Marcus Holloway, who's a member of a hacking group called DedSec, and the other three members feel like genuine characters. Like when you first start out, you feel like oh great, they're just hitting the stereotypical hacker. There's Josh, he's like the loner and the basement dweller kind of programmer guy, and then there's there's Wrench, who's you've probably seen in the promo trailers and stuff like that. He's the one with the mask that his eyes change based on his mood, and then there's Sitara, the girl, and like I said, you think that they would just fall into these, like where Grand Theft Auto would go with something like this, where everybody would just kind of be like a hollow caricature, like ripped from some pop culture reference point, but they feel that they're fleshed out a lot more. Even Wrench with his mask, he feels more like a character than most of even the primary characters in something like Grand Theft Auto feels like. They kind of went that way with Grand Theft Auto 4 with I don't even remember. Nico. And but they kind of, I feel like they kind of went more stereotype with Grand Theft Auto 5. Like none of the characters really had any unique. They just felt like characters. They didn't feel like people, in my opinion, anyway. But they do a better job here, kind of exploring these characters and making them seem a little bit more interesting, in my opinion, anyway.
I feel like they set them up like they would normally set. I don't want to be rude, but they kind of do come up with quite kind of these kind of counterculture hipstery type people. They're normally the sort of characters you would see set up in a level or a mission in a Grand Theft Auto that you would eventually screw over and never see again.
Right.
But they it starts off like that, and they start kind of, you play it and you think, oh god, it's going to be this, isn't it? I'm going to hate these characters. But they do eventually start to flesh them out a lot more. Right. So it kind of subverts that thing. At first, I really didn't like them. I'm like, oh, they're doing that thing. Oh god, no. Not for a whole game, but
I think that was a lot of my issue when I first played the game too, was I didn't really connect with the characters right away. And Marcus, well, he's definitely more of a character than some games in this genre or whatever you want to call it. He doesn't have quite as much personality as the other three characters. I think that's a lot because a lot of his personality actually comes through in the way you play, Marcus.
Yeah, I would say that.
And yeah, I haven't completed the game, so I don't know if there's a lot of other characters that show up along the way. But even a lot of the secondary characters that you do meet for a couple of missions here or there, they feel at least somewhat genuine. Like there's a little bit more than just okay, we need this person to show up for this mission, and then don't write too much there because they're just going to be there for that one moment or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else with the characters that you guys want to bring up?
I just point out, like, the way they developed the characters, like, through doing the missions with them, I think it was a really good way to actually make you feel more for the characters instead of just having, like, dialogue with them there, them sending you out, like, you're going out with them to do missions or for certain reasons. You feel more attached because that's how they're built, is through these missions versus just being there, having a conversation whenever you return back to the hackerspace.
Yeah, like they're there. Sometimes they're there with you on the mission, or you at least meet them there, and then they give you some sort of information dump. They aren't just like cutscenes, cutscene characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in relation to the first game, really you only had the main guy there, which I don't even remember his name.
I think it was Aiden Pierce, I believe.
Yeah. So I know that game specifically, the Aiden Pierce received a lot of criticism for his kind of dull persona.
Yeah. He's not much of a character.
Yeah.
At all, really. His character is basically his full of motion. His kind of his quest for whatever he's going. I can't even remember what he was ultimately going for. It was kind of dull, but that's really all his character is. His determination to go and fuck everybody up with a big gun, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Wasn't much to him at all compared to this one.
Yeah,
it feels like no, go ahead.
Like the first one was more like he was set up, and I think somebody was kidnapped, and that's what drove him, was trying to get these people back and keep them safe. So it was just completely based around him, to where now that they've opened up to like the entire group, it really changes the dynamic of what the game could be.
Yeah, and it feels like in that first game, the setup seemed like very like Hollywood action movie kind of setup, like Revenge Tale or something.
Yeah.
In the technology, like the hacking and the integration of the technology almost seemed kind of secondary. Like it was this Revenge Tale, but also he can hack all of this cool shit. Whereas here the whole story and everything that revolves around the story has to do with the way the technology interacts with the world. Like you're going after home security companies and like a cult that uses technology and mass media to influence their followers and stuff like that. And it's like it all, and of course you're the hacker group that's using the technology and the way you connect with it to interfere with all of this kind of stuff and use it to your advantage.
Yeah. And not only interfere, like you're also trying to like gain followers to spread the awareness of, hey, you have these phones, you have this stuff.
Yeah, that's like the XP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gain. It's not called experience; it's called followers.
Yeah.
Just like Forza Horizon.
I will say though that I do think
yeah.
the thing between the first one and the second one that I find a little bit kind of disjointed is there doesn't feel like very many stakes in the second one. It feels quite light and breezy and jazzy, kind of just pop through. There doesn't feel like much threat within the level, the stages you're doing or the missions you're doing. You're in and out and you're having a good old laugh about it once you've done it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's any kind of real impact kind of to propel you forward.
Yeah, that's true. There doesn't seem to be an overarching story. It just seems to be you're kind of floating between this thing and that thing. And, you know, like I completed the cult quest line, but then there was just another quest line to start up again. Yeah. And maybe it shows itself later on, but there doesn't seem to be like a through line with all of this stuff. At least there isn't a...
At the moment, it's just hack the world, isn't it, at the moment?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, so that hasn't revealed itself, and I've played quite a bit, so if it's there, it's taking its time to popping up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that is something strange. It just feels like at this point a bunch of unconnected missions that you're doing in the world.
Yeah, it lacks a solid antagonist, I think, maybe so far.
Yeah.
And if it is going to bring it in, it may have done it a little bit too late. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. There isn't like a big bad that you're going after. So I talked a little bit about it with Marcus and how his character isn't quite as like, you don't really dive into his character too much with like backstory or motivations and stuff like that. Unlike the other characters, you do a little bit more. And I feel like his character, you almost can choose the type of character he is. Not that it really impacts the story too much or anything like that, but one big thing that separates this game from other games in this field, in my opinion, is your choice between going either lethal or non-lethal with the missions.
Yeah.
So you have like this array of tools at your disposal. You can just go in with your pistol or machine gun and shoot all the guards and accomplish your tasks like you would in like a Grand Theft Auto or any other game like this. Or you can choose to use like your taser, your stun gun, you have like drones that you can use to kind of accomplish a lot of the missions without even actually yourself going into the area. And you can hack cameras and different things around the environment to trigger like, you trigger a little electrical box to make a noise, and that attracts a guard over to it, and then you can trigger it to perform a non-lethal shock, and that'll knock the guard out for a little while. And that actually, it was cool when I first started getting into it. Like you get to a mission zone and you basically, almost all of the missions so far that I've done, story missions, have been get into this building, don't be seen, and hack a computer. Like either you're downloading information or you're uploading a virus or something like that. And there hasn't been a whole lot of variation in that. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. There have been a couple of things where, like, I stole a Hollywood movie car or something like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and that was
mission was a lot of fun. I remember
that was pretty cool. The car was like talking. It was like was it Kit
like
from Knight
Rider?
Rider? Yeah. It's just like that. And that was like a diversion, but almost all the other ones have been like kind of samey. The missions have been kind of similar to the ones before it. Once you go through the motions, you kind of know what you're getting into. Did you guys notice that? Is there something I'm missing?
Yeah, I could see that, where they're kind of all structured the same, and every now and then you'll get something different. Like, I had another mission later on to where you had to do some stuff in a car, and then it just ended spectacular. I won't really try to ruin it for anybody if you're not that far, because when I jumped back in, I was already like 14% done the game, so I think I had just finished a church previously playing, and I just jumped right back into my save
and continued on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, there was a few things that popped up, but so many. At least with the church thing, it was a lot of that. And it was a lot of sneaking in, hacking something, and then sneaking out. And it was cool because you're not going in like a traditional stealth game, with a silent pistol or something and shooting all of these people and hiding bodies. You're kind of encouraged to survey the area, like hack the cameras and see where everyone is, and then plan your route through the environment to get to where you need to hack, do your business, and get out. And I think for the most part it works pretty well as a game like that. There's definitely some weird things with the AI, especially when you start making noise and they start following you. It's really easy to funnel them all down a corridor and just keep shooting them with your taser over and over and over again. Then you just have this huge pile of sleeping corpses. Of course, then they all wake up at the same time, which is funny too. But yeah, and it's fun enough because you do have options. Like, you can use your little motorized drone if you want to, instead of going in yourself. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's easier to go in yourself. Sometimes it's easier to use the drone, the little buggy. I haven't unlocked the flying drone yet. Oh, you know what? I did just unlock the flying drone. I haven't been able to use it yet, though.
Pretty fun, that.
Yeah, it's fun. It takes a little bit to get used to, but it's a lot of fun to use.
More so when you first get it, it's kind of average, but once you start getting up that skill tree, it starts to get a lot more interesting. At first, it's not that interesting, but when you start getting a tag element to it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was looking forward to, is tagging enemies, so I didn't have to keep activating your cyberspace vision or whatever the hell it's called.
Like, your ping.
Yeah, your blue vision. Yeah, so a little bit about the upgrades. So like we said earlier, you gain followers as basically the XP, and every time you level up, you get a bunch of upgrade points, and you can spend them on this upgrade tree that at first looks deceptively bigger than it probably is. There's a lot of samey things along the tree, but it's more like there's one tree that's all you're doing is unlocking more charge on your what do they call it, the botnet thing, which is your meter for the amount of things you can interact with, things you can hack in the world,
which to me never seems to go down. So I don't bother putting money into it.
I've never, maybe I should be using it more, but I've never ran into an issue where I was out. Like I wanted to do something and I was out of juice.
Some later missions it'll happen.
Oh, okay.
I had a couple where there's just so many people there to deal with, and where you were positioned, you really kind of had pick and choose. I actually think I redid the mission 3 or 4 times before I actually got down to what I had to do.
Yeah, because you can use it in the middle of combat too. You can kind of distract enemies with it, and activate like a thing on the wall that maybe will shoot out hot steam or electricity or something, and maybe it'll be in a good position to take out some guys. But I find anyway that sometimes you're just so much is going on, I'm not even paying attention to that kind of stuff. I'm more focused on, is this guy going to come around behind me and shoot me in the back, or rather than maybe I can hack that camera and get a different angle on these guys or something like that.
Yeah.
The upgrades are pretty cool. Like there are some where they unlock your ability to control different things. So like I recently unlocked the ability to control like scissor lifts. So now if there's something up high that I wasn't able to get to before, and there's one of these scissor lift crane things nearby, I can pilot that over, use it to get up, and that can even open up a new way for me to get into a restricted area or something like that. So it's really a lot of options that you can use to engage with the world, and they're really cool. So like I said, I feel like sometimes the AI isn't really equipped to deal with some of the ways that you can interact with it.
No, I would say so.
Yeah,
it's a strange thing. Yeah, I do strange things anyway. Like, so you play completely non-lethal.
Yes.
I'd like to do a bit of both. It feels a bit kind of mean to do it in this sort of game, because I don't feel like those sort of characters that want to go around massacring people.
Right.
So you kind of, if you want to role play it, you do want to go in stealthy. But when you so if you like taser somebody, it would take quite a while for them to find that tasered body, as it were. If you were to silent shoot them, they seem to be aware from floors down that somebody's died a lot quicker. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to be a little bit more wary. They haven't heard the shot, they haven't seen the shot, but suddenly from 2 floors down, like, huh? That you don't get if you're just stunning them or knocking them out with your is it a yo-yo or something like that? You're not
I think it's
a ball, isn't it, or in a sock or something?
It's like a billiard ball.
Yeah,
billiard ball on a string.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so you can do the same thing 2 different ways, and people being notified. I don't know, it's very strange. There's no way they could tell the difference of whether somebody was dead or so why they pay more attention.
Well, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where somebody has died 3 floors below you, but you get this feeling. It's a sense that everybody has.
Yeah, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think you may be reaching somewhat.
It's the sixth sense. They you don't realize it, but that was the first upgrade they chose when they got their first 1,000 followers on Twitter. I
see dead people 4 floors away.
Yeah. That's a different movie. So I haven't really checked out the lethal options too much, except I wish they wouldn't put in these multiplayer quests in your same log as your single player quests. It's really annoying because it's just a big cluttered mess. But I did one just to see what it was like, and I ended up using a gun on that because it was designed for co-op and it didn't connect me with another player. So I just had to go in myself, and there was like guys with armor and stuff like that. So I did use some of the lethal weapons there, and it ended up being this huge long chase through the streets because the guy I was supposed to hack started running away, and I just chased him through like half of San Francisco, and eventually I shot him down and did what I had to do, but it wasn't very good. Let's just put it that way.
I've noticed if you have to chase somebody and you don't get them right away, you're in for like 30 to 40 minutes of chasing them around that damn map.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've yet to play it with somebody that I know. It does seem a little bit too random and haphazard when it's somebody that's just jumping into your game.
Yeah.
I don't know how much better it would flow if you do kind of know the person you're jumping in with.
I mean, at least if you had communication, like you're talking to them or something like that, you can coordinate a little bit better. But yeah, it didn't even connect me. It like said it was trying to, and then it did it for a couple minutes, and then just threw me in myself, and it didn't go well. Let's just put it that way. I replayed it like 3 or 4 times because I kept getting shot and dying and stuff like that. But it did. Yeah, it did kind of inspire me to explore all of my hacking options, though. Like you can remote control a car from your phone, and like
I think it's so useful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can like run dudes over with it and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And like, you know, so that's kind of like where the playing it non-lethal kind of falls apart, is when you're driving around and then all of a sudden you accidentally wipe out an entire crosswalk full of people, and it's just like, well, maybe they just skinned their knee. I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah. So
it's still in my windshield. I don't think they're going to be okay.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about specifically was the driving in this game and how weird it feels. It's like there's no weight to the cars at all, in my opinion. It's extremely arcadey feeling. Like all the cars like turn on a dime and they accelerate at an incredible rate. And it felt really weird at first when I started playing it. It feels way different than any other driving in any other type of game like this that I've played anyway. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, bikes even more so.
Yeah.
Bikes are very light and floaty.
Yeah. It's strange you're in San Francisco, but it feels like the road's covered in ice all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, that was weird, and I guess it's fine. It ended up being okay, because it actually makes the driving a little bit easier when you're in a chase or something like that, because you don't have to worry about, like, if you're in a piece of shit car, you're not going to be able to outrun whatever you're outrunning. And I think the game does a pretty good job of letting you evade the cops and anybody that's chasing you a lot better than some of, like, I've always had but with Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 specifically, I've always hated getting into chases with police because it's such a pain in the ass to outrun them and then lose your wanted level, when in the previous games, like 3 through San Andreas, you just dip into a paint spray and you'd be good to go. But it's more of a hassle in 4 and 5. But this seems to be like, as long as you outrun the cops and then go and hide in your car, you're pretty good.
Yeah, the last couple missions I had to outrun the cops, and it was a pain in the ass. It just seemed like as soon as you got out of the way and it turned yellow, all of a sudden there was like another one there. I was like, how are you choosing where the hell they're coming from? Like,
yeah, that's always how it felt in Grand Theft Auto. It was like they would always put a car right there in front of you, a cop right there in front of you. And I don't know, I just haven't found that to be as big of an issue here yet. Maybe as it goes along, it'll get more frustrating. One thing I did want to bring up is the little map down in your corner, and it's pretty useful, especially when you're trying to evade the cops, but it's incredibly annoying every time you unlock a song and it covers up your entire screen for like 5 seconds. And you're like in the middle of this chase and you're like, oh, I gotta make sure I take the right turn, and then all of a sudden, song unlocked, pink screen covers up the whole thing. You're like, what the fuck? Like, I understand like them trying to create an aesthetic and like make it seem like a real thing, but man, is that annoying. And it happens a lot too.
Speaking of annoying, I don't really enjoy the phone system, the way it's laid out. That can be a bit of a cluttered mess.
Like the menu.
Where you select missions within the phone menus and stuff like that, and
there's just like
a list of stuff to select.
There's like 10 buttons on that phone, and I know what 3 of them are, 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I use the map. I use the mission log. I use the XP thing, and then I use the settings, and that's it. There's like a whole nother row of stuff that I don't even know what the hell it is. So how's the?
Just a clutter.
So what have you been playing on? I've been playing on PC. What versions have you been playing?
I'm playing
Xbox.
I'm playing on the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Okay, Lee, you're playing on the Xbox One, the
Xbox One X. Yeah, the
S. Okay.
Yeah.
How's the performance for you guys been?
Fine. It's not really anything spectacular. It's the occasional chug. There's the occasional kind of glitch out, ridiculous pop-ins, but that's about it really. There's not much that really stands out. I would say, but yeah, it's fine. It's literally fine, and that's the best way you can say about it. That's the best thing you can say about it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
nothing to annoy you too much.
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything real bad, but it performs pretty well. Nothing that really stands out, but pretty much what you would expect from that type of game.
Okay, and it looks good too. Looks at least somewhat. I mean, it's a 3-year-old game now, so.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Runs perfectly fine. How's the PC version?
Well, the PC version's kind of interesting. Turns out that this game is like incredibly CPU intensive. Like it is like there's a area of PC games where they started to really start to take advantage of like multi-core processors on PC, and this one seems to be one of those ones that they started to get there, but then they didn't quite have the optimizations in place to make it play well across a large range of different types of hardware. So when I first fired it up, I was getting like really bad frame rates. And I had just gotten a new graphics card, so I'm like, man, this is like a 3-year-old game, and I'm playing it on this brand new graphics card, and it's not running great. Like, what's going on? So I looked into it, and my CPU was getting hit 100% almost all the time. And looking online and stuff like that, I found some things where at the time when this game came out, it was kind of something that a lot of people had problems with. So there's a lot of like, here's the best things that you can do to improve PC performance and stuff like that. So I tried some of that stuff, and I ended up having to lock it at 30 frames per second in order to get a stable frame rate, which is not really ideal for when when you play on PC. You want to get you want to try to at least hit 60 frames per second, but I had to, otherwise it was just fluctuating so much that it was like it was like the thing that we were talking about with Sekiro on console, where the frame rate wasn't matching the refresh rate, so there was like stutter, and it was like extremely noticeable when it dropped down, especially in like huge populated areas of the city and stuff like that. So from that perspective, the performance wasn't really that great for me. But on the other hand, when I capped it at 30, I had tons of like tons of room to turn up all of the bells and whistles. So like I made it look really good, even though it was capped at 30 frames per second. So on PC you could make this game look really, really good, with all the like different detail options like reflections and lighting and things like that, and anti-aliasing and stuff like that to get rid of all the jaggies on the cars and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it can look really good. You just need a really crazy PC in order to like have it at the frame rates you're probably looking for. The other thing cool about the PC version is this has something called NVIDIA Ansel. That's ANSEL, which is graphics card built in almost like photo mode. So at any point in the game I can activate this and it pauses the game, freezes it at its current spot, and I can kind of move the camera around wherever I want in the scene, and add all of these effects onto it. Like I posted some to the Voxel voice group. Like you can add a green screen behind your character, so like it kind of like analyzes the scene and is like, okay, here's the main character, takes out all of the background, and then you can put whatever you want behind you, which was dumb but cool. But it just gives you way more options to deal with like focus, depth of field, field of view, zooming in and stuff like that if the game doesn't have that built into its photo mode already, this kind of just gives it to you without it having to be officially in the game. It was the first time I had experienced it, and it's pretty cool.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I think this is a pretty solid game all around. It's got some maybe some pacing issues and a little bit of, like we talked about, some AI problems in terms of like giving you so many options to approach something. The AI can't quite keep up with it, but overall it's certainly a good follow-up, a solid follow-up to a game that kind of was okay, but it wasn't really everything that it probably could have ended up being, which kind of gets me excited for the rumors around Watch Dogs 3 taking place in Lee's backyard, as it were.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Londinium.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to take place hopefully in London, which I'm excited for too, because I get super bored with, here's another one set in New York City, another open world driving game, or wherever it may be. So getting it out of the United States and in another completely different setting has me excited too.
Yeah, doesn't happen often coming to London. I think the last time there was a open world kind of third-person action game like that was probably the Getaway games, which is a good few gen old now. So it's not a scenario you see often.
No. Yeah, I remember playing one at some point. I don't remember. Was one of the True Crimes in London? No.
One was in LA and one was in New York. The second one was in New York.
All right, I guess I'm thinking
of
some
some
other
was
game
basically
then.
Sleeping Dogs. Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was. I hope that ends up being true. Seems like it probably is, and we'll probably see it at E3 in a couple months here.
Indeed, yeah.
All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about Watch Dogs before we wrap it up?
Not really. I mean, I would imagine it's not an expensive game now.
No.
I would imagine it's fairly cheap to pick up now, and I would say kind of it's definitely worth it for the price that you would find it at, as long as it's not over what it was originally, obviously. But
Right.
it's definitely worth a look if you skipped it first time, I would say.
Derek, you went and picked up another copy, right, to play?
Yeah, I think it was like $15 at GameStop.
Oh, that's a steal. 15. Yeah, that's easily a 15 banger.
But I think digitally on the store it was still pretty expensive.
Yeah, digitally on the main storefronts, even on PC, it's still at like $60.
Oh dear lord.
Yeah, but like at least on PC, you can definitely get it cheaper on like a third-party site or something like that. You could probably get a physical copy, a quote-unquote physical copy for PC on Amazon for a good deal too. Even though it's just a code that you punch in to Uplay and download it anyway. Yeah, and I spent a whole lot of Uplay points on stupid cosmetic stuff in the game, so because I needed to use up a ton of those before April something or other, April 1st, I think it was.
Utterly needless stuff. I saw the Uplay stuff on there. Well, thanks.
Oh yeah, it's useless. There's been a couple times where I've gotten some good stuff, like actual DLC missions and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's really just a bunch of cosmetic crap that, if you want to play as Sergeant Johnson in The Division, that famous character, you can go spend your Uplay points on that and play as Sergeant Johnson in The Division. I didn't even know there were characters in the First Division.
No. There are, but there aren't.
Right.
Trust me.
Well, I guess recently. I didn't spend the Uplay points to unlock the characters. All right, well, that's gonna wrap up Watch Dogs.